We learn from elders. We learn from survival. We learned from each other. For trans guys. Wisdom you can feel. Real talk. Collective care. Well, welcome to For Trans Guys. I'm Megan.
I'm Zander.
I'm David.
I'm Reed.
I'm JJ.
And we are hinged and definitely having a coherent conversation today.
Yes.
That's the plan.
Okay, we agreed to that. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah.
Where are we today, David? Will you tell us?
I would be glad to. We are at Rose City Park United Methodist Church in Portland, Oregon.
And in case there are people who are like, I want to go to a church in Portland, Oregon, either in person or online, how do they connect with y'all?
In person, we're in Northeast Portland off of Sandy Boulevard on Alameda Street. If you'd like to connect online, you can find us on Facebook or Zoom just by putting in Rose City Park United Methodist Church.
All right.
And we're live every Sunday morning.
Nice.
What's your affiliation with Rose City Park United Methodist Church?
I'm the pastor.
Well, there you go.
All right.
So they kind of like me around here on Sunday.
I would hope so.
I love it.
Or at least they want someone to get all of the work done. On
Well,
Sunday,
that's
for
true.
sure.
Yeah, that's true too. But I have a good time with doing it.
Oh.
And I would say if anyone was like, well, what's this group assembled? What's their connection with each other? And I would say that we're all sort of like book authory and help the world people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone who's in this conversation today has sort of dedicated their life to helping people be well. Some of us do it in community. Some of us do it in confidential, private, one-on-one spaces. Some of us do a little bit of both. I'm curious, maybe can we go around, if I was to say to people that we do wellness work, how would you describe the type of wellness work that you do? Zander, will you go first?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and the work that I primarily do is psychoeducation. I'm not a psychotherapist. So what that means is I teach people skills to be able to navigate through life's ups and downs, the inevitable ups and downs of life, because they will always be here. So are there better ways to navigate them? Absolutely. How do we do it? With things like emotion regulation, distress tolerance, conflict mitigation, stress management, more effective communication. So that's what I do, is I teach those skills in virtual and live ways, right? I go in person and also through Zoom and other video means. And I do it in corporate settings, though. So it's a little bit different. I do it in corporations for the employees of the companies that have purchased a plan with something called a mental health employee benefit company. So yeah, so that's what I do. My goal is to keep people off the couch.
Okay.
Right?
What about you?
Healing. Boy, there's so many ways to define that. As pastor, I do a lot of work with spiritual practices that help people deal with stress in our culture, identity things within them. So one-on-one and in worship, I try to heal corporately, not in the sense of corporate, communally, in churches that there's been so much harm. And so there's lots of education, programming, going out from the building into the communities. We have 20 organizations here that work on that kind of ministries that we share that with. I'm also a pastoral counselor, and I work one-on-one. And one of the greatest things right now for me is that since our denomination has finally changed its policies,
Here.
yeah, I'm able to help move interested candidates for ministry from unsafe spaces and states to safer places, often Portland, and help them get started in the process and clarify their calling. So that's a lot of what I do.
Well, I'm a retired therapist, and I worked mostly with trans clients. I got into the profession because I had counterproductive experiences with therapists in the mid-90s who set me back in my process of self-understanding. And I thought I can do better than that. So I went back to grad school, and I did a lot of work with a lot of trans clients and non-binary people before the term non-binary existed, helping them accept themselves and value themselves, see themselves as really valuable in the world. The things I do today, because I retired quite a while ago, so the things I do now, I'm in part of a church as well, and I'm in charge of curating coffee hours. So I get people signed up to host coffee hour after the service, and that's a huge ministry in and of itself.
Yes.
I'm in an Episcopal congregation. They're all introverted. I get them talking to each other, and I find that very rewarding. I also sing in the Portland Gay Men's Chorus, and the audience reaction to our concerts is a huge ministry.
That's right.
We bolster people, and we bolster each other just by singing together. I don't think it's any accident that choral singing originated in spiritual traditions, because when you share the air in song like that and you converge on a note of unison, the boundaries between you are invisible, and you become one voice, and it's really powerful. So those are the things that I do to bolster the world, and it bolsters me as well. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, for me, I focus on helping families who are experiencing homelessness organize their lives, orient themselves into opportunities, into housing. So as a case manager, I do that as a daytime profession, but I think my avocation originally in the diaconal space is to accompany other people and to amplify their message and their voice. So I'm kind of that second fiddle part player who helps the primary fiddle player make their message heard, and usually that's with trans voices, but I'm also working in corporate settings. I'm working with my spiritual community, the Chaplaincy Institute, the community aspect of it, to help them be more out in the world, more transparent in what they're doing, better understanding what interfaith chaplaincy means as a concept, to counterbalance and counteract the voices that are out there in the world. The amount of chaplain hashtags that are out in TikTok is profound, but it's skewing in a very particular direction, and so I want to create more of an interfaith space within that, and so that's what I'm working with that community, particularly as well as other individuals, to try and amplify their message and their voice out there in the world so they can be heard as well.
Well, and I'm trained as a pastor. I've served as a bishop, currently teaching at the Chaplaincy Institute, kind of for a more interfaith group of people, trained in a lot of trauma and stress care through somatic experiencing, and nationally certified to do critical incident response, which is the exact same thing, but we call it something different because first responders are getting workplace injuries by seeing all of the traumas that they see, and so especially trained in kind of care and recovery from mass casualty incidents and some of that bigger stuff that happens, and not trained as a therapist, which is helpful to say as someone who lives in California and those lines get blurred, but like helping people in general figure out how to not get stuck in trauma and how to kind of keep moving in the world. And I just thank you for all going around and doing that, because I think we have somewhat of a like radically diverse wellness panel. Like, we don't necessarily have a physician here to be able to do all the internal stuff, but we've got a lot of the brain and body and heart and spirituality parts that trans people are navigating through. And because so many people in our world today are offering unsolicited wellness advice to trans people in particular, but just the whole world in general, there are some people who at least when they're scrolling online are wondering if being famous is the way to feeling well. Some people who are wondering if having a wealthy paying job is the way to be well. And so I'm curious, with the diversity that we have in this room, what do you think is one of the like key things about being well? And bonus points if you have a story about a time you actually felt well, and what that was like in your body and your heart and your mind. I went real deep real fast, but we're in a Methodist church.
Right.
It brought it out of me.
Okay.
I'll point out something while y'all are thinking. For me, I'm also a massage therapist, I failed to mention. And being somatic is really an important part of myself. And I did a lot of, I received a lot of massage, telling myself that I love myself. It was a powerful period of time for myself as I was really trying to figure out what my body was doing and who I am and how I live in my body, to receive actual positive touch in a clinical setting, and to feel well within that was just really liberating. And so I just want to point that out to the somatic experiencing of what we do is there are a lot of ways to care for ourselves well, and I think massage is a incredible healing art for that as well. And it's one of the ways that I even practice ministry as well, is to set up chairs in unusual places, a massage chair publicly in unusual places, to see a trans person touching other people in a public setting, that it's safe and well, and that might have been the very first trans person that they've ever experienced in that way. So I do that as one of my ministries as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important. When we were talking about types of healing, one of the things that is so important to me is that personal care and being outdoors, breathing, exercises, walking, what they call grounding now, which I used to call going barefoot as a kid in the woods. Those kinds of practices that put you in touch. And my spouse is a massage therapist, and yes, touch is so important. And I know as a kid, I didn't get a lot of touch, and especially once I was in school, because I was mostly in the corner or the principal's office, you know. So I'm glad you brought that up, JJ. A time that I felt well I went back immediately to when I was 24, and the first summer after completing all my medical transition, and it was before Reagan. It was kind of the good old days, but there wasn't resources like there are today. But just for the first time to go outdoors and walk and just cut-offs and just be me, I felt whole and well, and I knew that I wanted to somehow dedicate the rest of my life to being with people on that journey. So it's not exactly a contemporary example, but an important one.
Well, I had an experience a few years ago that was really powerful. I was a founding member of the Portland Lesbian Choir back in 1986, and when I realized I needed to transition, I had to leave. Because it's a lesbian choir, I wasn't going to be part of the lesbian community anymore, and it was a huge loss for me, very painful. I've been there for 10 years. It was the center of my life. And a few years ago, I was invited to sing backup vocals for a very iconic singer-songwriter here, and a number of members of the Portland Lesbian Choir were invited as well. And we were all standing around singing in a circle with our eyes closed, all in the same octave. And I thought, I'm part of the Portland Lesbian Choir again. And it allowed me to reclaim that part of myself. And it's like, it's all me all the time. I didn't leave it behind. It will always be me. And I felt whole again and at peace. And it was so powerful because then my heart was healed. I didn't have any sense of that was then, this is now, pre-transition, post-transition. It's all me. My whole life is me.
Amen. That's beautiful, Reed. I feel well now.
Yeah.
I feel well. I think all of us so far that have talked, we've mentioned things that have to do with what we call like self-care, right? The activities we engage in, the time we take, to touch earth,
Right.
And breathe and relax. Right? Just taking the time to relax. To get a massage, you relax.
That's right.
If not from the start, eventually.
Eventually.
Right?
Hopefully.
Because, and so, because I teach these practices, I get to practice them and then reinforce. over and over and over again. I also think that I was very fortunate in the things that I was exposed to at a really young age that have been with me the whole time. Which is at the age 12, my father took me to the Transcendental Meditation Ashram. I got my mantra for my 12th birthday present. And so I don't do Transcendental Meditation anymore, but I've been meditating, since I was 12. I'm 60 now, so that's a lot of years. And also, I think part of my default setting now, because I've journeyed for several decades now, is recognizing that, there are things going on right now I don't really like. It's not the first time. Won't be the last.
That's right.
I take things in stride much more now because this too shall pass. I know that I will never live a life free of stress or conflict. Never. And so that means I have to figure out how to live with it and how to challenge it in a way that isn't destructive to my well-being.
Right. Yes.
Right? And so for me, that's what I focus on. Where can I make a difference, and how can I do that work without making myself sick? Right? In any kind of way, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially, financially, I don't want to make myself unwell. And so I focus my attention on learning how to just float through. The waves are going to come, it's inevitable, but I can learn how to stay afloat. I can learn how to bob underneath the wave. I can learn to surf those waves. It's my choice.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the gifts that you and other of us older trans guys can help younger people with, because I know when I was in the midst of a lot of the crises, it's easy to forget about self-care and the good things in life.
Absolutely.
But perspective over the years gives some wisdom about how important that balance is.
Well, and it's involuntary, right? Because the brain is just sending a signal, right? The signal is you're in danger, you're under some kind of threat, and the body just goes into fight or flight or freeze or fawn response. That is automatic. It's like breathing and blinking, right? Autonomic, boom. Sympathetic nervous system. But the parasympathetic we can tap into. We just have to take just an instant to remember, oh wait, look around. I'm not actually under threat. I just feel distressed. And then we can just take a deep breath and it resets our system. But we have to practice doing it when we're not at this peak of stress, at this level of stress.
Right.
And then we get better and better at it, so the higher our stressors go, the more quickly we can respond to them, right? But it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And inevitably that can happen just through life, the journey of life, because we get a lot of practice at it.
We do.
The journey of transition.
Yes. Oh yeah.
It gives us a whole lot of practice of how to deal with chaos throughout every aspect of our lives, all descending on us at once.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it helps that there's more understanding of post-traumatic stress disorder and all those symptoms and how to begin to learn to recognize it and deal with it.
Yeah.
A way to get beyond it and through it.
Well, yeah, post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I was gonna say I have like kind of two. I think just because my life, like yours, has been kind of that journey of navigating the yin and the yang and the hard and the soft, and so I think of a moment. It was after I had done a lot of trauma work with first responders and caring for them, and so my system was very practiced at how to be calm in the midst of the worst kind of tragedy. I worked for the police department during COVID, providing wellness support for the medical examiner's office. That's just a very intense space to be. And so having been very practiced in that, later when I had a job in leadership and it was very clear people were in a proper stage of trauma, working through their anger, through how they felt uncomfortable and sort of channeling that out into a community dynamic. What it meant for me as someone who was navigating a very hard, complex issue that was confidential, and you can't share how simple a matter is if it's confidential. You have to just listen to people's hopes and dreams and fears and projections on what's going on in that moment. And I had at the time, even though people were kind of like projecting cruelty towards me or projecting kind of the assumption that sometimes happens with trans people, assuming every choice we make is for terrible purposes and never for healing purposes, right? And in that situation, I just had this very calm peace of, I think I'm supposed to be in this role, not because I deserve to be treated with that level of cruelty, or not because of anything in me deserves people to assume the worst in me, but because I have within me this deep capacity not to return the harm back at people. And so I was going to hold safe space for people to articulate the depths of the spiritual harm they had experienced, to be able to articulate the depths of the racial cruelty that happens in this world sometimes, to be able to express the depths of feeling like you're in a system that is set against you and you don't actually get a voice in, and is supposed to be moral but doesn't always act that way. And so it felt like I was in a place of peace in the midst of kind of grossness, because I had sort of practiced some of those behaviors. But then, like, my body is a human body, and so you can't ever escape that level of projections without it having some sort of after effect. And so as I'm sort of sitting in the like residue of the yuck, the silt at the end of the river that you get to wade through after an incident like that is over, I went, and because COVID was now over, I am one of the best things I ever learned early in my ministry life or in working in nonprofits that don't pay you well is like to get a frequent flyer credit card so you can still go on vacation even when you can't afford it. So I had enough frequent flyer mile points to take a cruise to Antarctica, but only because everyone was terrified of cruises now, and there had been like a 4-year wait list to go on this particular cruise, and the wait list was gone because of COVID. Yep. And so I got to go on one of the very first cruises that went back to Antarctica. And it was this profound experience because the animals there, it had been enough years, they didn't know what a boat was anymore. And they did, right? And so they would come, and the baby penguins would do tricks outside. Like, it's everything you wanted. If you were
so happy you were back.
If you were going to spend that much money on a trip,
That's right.
you want them to do circus-style acrobatics, like whales everywhere. And they're just like, yeah, like, they were like, you left us alone and we're happy again. Right. What are you? Okay, bye. But it was this really profound, like, so it was the beauty of the space, the being alone, because it's like such an expensive trip, you can't bring everyone in your whole community, and the like, you're going across like the Drake Passage for several days and you can't do thing, and the internet's not gonna work. And so it was like this sitting with yourself, and I had this very deep moment, like, first of all, like, thank you universe for like showing off, but also like what it told me was the universe that is irritating you, the people who are grumpy, the whatever it is that is irritating you, is such a tiny part of this planet.
Absolutely.
And most parts of this world could give a crap that people are upset about whatever thing you've been thinking about for too long, or whatever it is you've been holding on to. And like, there aren't fire trucks here. Like, and so it was just a great way to like release from a lot of that yucky bits. And it doesn't fix everything, because you still come back home and you gotta like deal with problems, and you gotta like buy groceries again, and you gotta like parent, and your kids become teenagers. But like, there was something really beautiful about knowing, number one, like, you are skilled enough to like survive this moment, and then later this moment was never so big to be everything.
Well, it's that trust factor, right? Not everybody has developed the trust of themselves or of the world around them because of whatever's happened, but developing that inner trust goes a long way, because it's like we can't change the world in the big ways, right? As an individual, people joining together, but still it'll take a while.
Yeah.
But trusting, like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay to whatever degree I'm engaged in this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll be okay. It won't overwhelm me, or it won't, right? It's just trusting that we can do it. You use the word capacity.
There's a part of the trans experience that's internal, and you couldn't necessarily describe it to someone who hasn't been through to the other side of the rainbow, or whatever those steps are for you. We could debate about that for years, a different day, but like, have there been moments where you felt at peace in your body and you didn't care anymore if you could communicate it to other people because you just were at peace in your body? And it's okay if the answer is no, but like, there are so many people who we kind of see from the comment section, or what they're interested in our conversations, is that they're like searching for joy, searching for this relationship, like searching for the things that are going to bring happiness.
All the
And
externals.
So that's why I'm like, we have the crew here who knows how brains and beings work. Like, have you found it ever, even for a brief moment?
Oh, yeah.
Is it out there, though?
No,
No.
right here.
Yeah.
Leading the witness.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the heart, solar plexus. I just experience the amazement of being alive. I'm just so grateful every day to wake up and to the world. And yes, an imperfect world, and a world we're all doing what we can to help be even better, but just to be alive. And I know in my own experience, there were nights as a teenager I slept with a razor blade in my hand. But I know that life is beautiful. And I knew it then because I never used it, right? So that it comes from inside. But the trust doesn't come automatic. It's part of that healing that we've talked about, and the meditation, the mindfulness, the practices that help bring that, I think, help bring us to that wisdom in our lives.
Well, it's a mind-body-spirit alignment.
Yes.
And when I first wrote my memoir, I had a number of people read it, not to curate it exactly, but I wanted to know, was I being too personal, or was I saying enough? Was I saying too much? And one of them said, I didn't recognize you until I got to about 3/4 through. And that really struck me, because the first part of my life, and I met with a cousin a few years ago that I hadn't seen live for like 50 years, and she said, you were such an angry child. And I didn't remember that at all. But that just tells me that, yes, I've achieved this sort of peace, but I don't really remember what it was like before. I've lost those memories somehow, or I've lost the feeling. I can describe incidents, but I can't really feel the same way I did at the time.
I remember hearing, before I started my medical transition, I remember hearing from a handful of people in different places, documentaries, books, one-on-one conversations, that to be trans, at the time it was transsexual, right, was to believe that I was born in the wrong body. And it always confused me. Because as a child I was paralyzed because I had an adverse reaction to the MMR vaccination, which left me paralyzed for 2 years. And so that was when I was 6. So by the time I was 8, I had been through enough physical therapy that I was well enough, right, that I could go back to life, so to speak. And so I was just so happy that I had a working body, right? Like because 2 years in, a wheelchair and leg braces was no fun, right? And so the fact that I could get up and move around, to me, that was it. I was good to go. So I've never had a problem with my body. I have had surgeries, and for me, I had surgeries because I just wanted to walk the world with the least amount of drawing attention. Really, I didn't like all the attention, and so I wanted to be able to just have as low amount of friction as possible in that area. I didn't do it because I didn't like parts of my body. That's not why I had surgery. So I haven't dealt with that issue of not being at peace. And so I would say to people who haven't found that peace, it's like, maybe tap into something, right? You said it, you're just so happy to be alive. Mm-hmm. Go out into the world, experience the wonder and the awness of the miracle of nature. Mm-hmm. The miracle of nature. It is spellbinding. It really is. It stumps me every time. I'm like, what the heck? Like the beauty, the coloration, the everything about it. I watch documentaries all the time about animals, right? Like that's the happy place right there. It's like, find a way to connect to something bigger, more grander, right? Put your attention there, right? And then see if there's a way back to, I'm part of this beauty. I'm part of this awesomeness. I'm part of this creation, right? And not only is the world imperfect, I'm imperfect. Mm-hmm. We're imperfect. So if perfect is the goal, I hope you abandon that immediately.
You're not human anymore.
That's right. That's right.
That's why I'm a
imperfect.
Methodist. Because the
Are there 4 reasons you're a Methodist?
Inside joke.
Yeah, well, there is. We have a choir.
Yeah, I know. We know. Yeah.
But no,
Margaret was UMC clergy candidate.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so no, just one. I would like to.
Okay, great.
One leg of the stool.
Yeah.
Sorry for hazing you.
Yeah. That's okay. It's because John Wesley, who created the platform for Methodism, always said we are never perfect. We're always moving on to perfection. Mm-hmm. And I love that image. I would like to comment about I did feel at odds with my body. Mm. I didn't hate my body. It wasn't my body. It was the perception that was being thrown at me, and all the denial of who I am, and as a kid who I was, by adults. And so, and there was no language back in the 50s and 60s. So that kind of language I can really understand, because how else was there to describe it? Mm-hmm. But the medical surgeries I chose for completeness, not because I didn't like something. Mm-hmm. If that makes
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and for me, I wouldn't even exactly say I was in denial of identity. I thought I was a lesbian because when I was 19, I fell in love with a woman. Well, what else could that possibly mean? In 1974, there were no visible trans people. If there had been visible trans men at that time, I've often wondered, would I have understood my identity sooner? Because I spent 22 years in lesbian community because I had no idea. But I felt like I didn't inhabit my body. I wasn't really in it. Mm-hmm. And when I had chest surgery, I can't remember what it felt like before. Mm-hmm. Zero memory, which tells me I had no attachment to certain parts of my body.
It's like a disassociation.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take one of the host's liberties as we kind of close out our wellness part of the conversation and then switch to a different topic. What we normally do when we end an episode is we let our guests have time where they just get to say whatever they want and then we don't interrupt. And I'm going to steal that time as we conclude this wellness portion. don't worry, we'll have other segments and then you guys will get to do it, so I'm not stealing it entirely. But this is for people who, if part of your wellness is because grumpy people tell you how you should be or how your body should be, and also because I want to make this clip for people who say dumb things in the comment section. And so I'm going to face this way even though I know you're here. Okay. Are you ready, guys? Here we go. People who are very angry in the comment section telling trans people they should be different, or that we are lying, or that we are cruel. Here's what I want you to know. Trans people are simply searching for peace inside of ourselves, and when we find it, when we find trans joy or even the tiniest sparkle of it, you can't steal it back, because all we see in your angry comments is that you haven't found your peace yet, and you stir up in us compassion for you, wanting you to find your peace. We don't hear your message of angriness. It doesn't make us fall apart. It doesn't make us change our minds. It makes us want you to start your journey so you can be whole. So, from this group of wellness leaders and spiritual leaders, find your peace. We're going to root for you, and you can't stop us.
Amen.
Amen.